Cathie Wood is one of the country's biggest investors, especially in the tech space. So where is she putting her money? Should we add some of these companies to our watch list? Let's go ahead and break it down. Now, for the average person, I would say that Cathie Wood popped up on their radar in 2020 and 2021 when she made some very aggressive investments in the tech space that absolutely paid off. I mean, she was beating Warren Buffett left and right. And then tech started to falter just a bit. We all saw what happened to a lot of our favorite tech stocks last year. But last I checked, tech is back on the rise in 2023. So what is she investing in? Okay, what are the top 5 holdings that we can learn from and perhaps add to our watch list? Also, I'm gonna just give you 2 bonus ones because one of these are extremely interesting that didn't fall in the top 5. It was like 7, so I wanted to make sure that I expanded the list just a bit. The first one here is Tesla. Tesla's up 21% in the last 6 months, up just 1.3% in the last year. It's just very, very interesting now that we are further away from the whole Twitter drama with Elon Musk and how he was selling shares way back then. It's just super interesting how the company really swayed with that entire ordeal. I mean, the company was down significantly during that period, and now things have quieted down just a bit. He renamed Twitter into X. We don't know why, but the company has started to recover. Also, I think that the entire union fight with Ford and Stellantis and GM, the fact that Tesla is not wrapped up in that, allows Tesla to continue producing vehicles and continue building that lead in the electric space that these other companies cannot. So that one's pretty interesting on how this whole thing is playing out. I think Tesla is still in a very good spot from a company perspective. If you still want to buy in, I still think it can make sense. I think I'm still a holder of Tesla, not necessarily a buyer. But again, it's hard to argue with the recent results of Tesla. Next here is Coinbase. Now, I have not been the biggest supporter or backer of Coinbase because like I said, I think it's a long walk off of a short cliff. Number one, ain't nobody loving crypto right now. I've done several videos about how I feel about crypto. I still feel that way, but we're in an environment where when you buy and sell stocks, nobody feels like paying a fee for it. That's not always the case at Coinbase, and I don't know how long they're going to live in a space where people are going to be okay with that. I also don't know when and if people are going to come back and trust crypto. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm not sure when that's going to happen. But the good news is Coinbase is actually up 11% in the last 6 months and up about 12% over last year. Double-digit returns. I can't be too mad at that. Next one here is Zoom. Zoom is a very curious case. Okay, Zoom is a curious case because first off, the company is down 5% in the last 6 months, down 19, almost 20% in the last year. When Zoom went public, I want to say this had to be 2019. Yeah, it had to be late 2019 going into 2020 because that's when the pandemic hit. When Zoom went public, it was one of the only tech companies that was profitable during that period because when Uber and Lyft went public shortly before that, they were not profitable. They were losing tons of money left and right. Zoom was like, hey, we're a tech company, we're making money. Pinterest is not, Slack may or may not have been making money, and we knew Uber and Lyft were not. They were the one standouts. And when the pandemic hit, they absolutely took off for obvious reasons. They haven't really done anything since. I think it's been a pretty downward spiral since. The fact that this is her 3rd highest holding, just interesting. I don't really see a reason as to why. Also, and I've said this before on plenty of podcasts and videos in the past, I still feel like Zoom is a one-trick pony. You do video conferencing. How is that so much different than FaceTime or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams or a whole bunch of other apps that are out there now? I don't know. Okay. Now, do I still use Zoom? Yeah, but I think it is easily replaceable. So we'll see what Zoom does and what they have up their sleeve in the next several years, but I'm not super excited about that one. Next here is Roku. Roku is the company that got away for me, okay? And it's one that I'm looking back, I'm glad that it got away. And that's because Roku is down right now 2% in the last 6 months, but they're up 19% over last year. Last year, Roku had one of the worst years where that company fell off of a map. Now, the way that Roku works, I like it. Okay, I like the way that Roku works because they are one of the few streaming companies, because yes, they have a streaming arm, they have Roku TV, but they're also a company that what I call is controlling the rail. And I've said this about what I did not like about Netflix, though Netflix is doing quite well right now. Netflix doesn't own any hardware, and Netflix actually has to pay rent to Roku to appear on their TVs. So Roku controls the rail. They've had a fight with YouTube TV, which is why on most Roku TVs right now, there is no YouTube TV app because they were fighting with Google. Now you have to go through the YouTube app, scroll through, and then find your YouTube TV. So controlling the rail means that you can see who goes on the platform and who doesn't. You can make money from the platform itself, you can make money from the TV itself, and from Roku streaming itself. So I love the way the company's organized. I would like to get back into Roku. Honestly, I would need to go back and do my research because, again, they took a tumble shortly after the pandemic, and I missed out on that tumble, and I'm glad I did. This might be time to add it back to my watch list and consider jumping back in. Next one, it's a company I've never heard of, okay? I'm going to call it UiPath. It's UiPath, or maybe that's how you say it. The ticker symbol here is PATH. This one's up 3% in the last 6 months and up 34% in the last year, which is pretty good. They are a robotics company. This is one I'm not a robotics expert. I don't think I've ever really invested in a company that's been in robotics. So what I'm not going to do is wax poetically about what this company does and how it does. I would need to do more research here. However, this does seem to be somewhat of a diamond in the rough at this point in time, because this ain't one that I've heard a lot of people looking into, and it's not in or on a lot of people's watch lists and portfolios. This is the one I would just come back in circles and say, hey, what is this? Should we look more into it? And then Roku is the one that I am most interested in to see whether or not it should be on my own portfolio. Now, that was the top 5, but there were 2 others that stood out to me. First one here is Square. Square came in at number 6, and Square is down 29% in the last 6 months, down 21% over last year. I think I've talked enough about Square and how it hurt my feelings, okay, and how I had to jump out of this stock 2 years ago to avoid the slide that it has continued to be on, if you ask me, for no good reason. But hey, I don't have to sit here and continue losing money until they figure it out. I had a comment the other day that said, oh, you missed out because Square is about to make a turnaround. Come call me when it does, okay? It does not make sense to continuously lose money for years on end and then just hope that things turn around. Because remember, once you hit that bottom, it is a long climb up if you invested at the top, which unfortunately is what I did. So, hey, could this be a time to invest in Square? I hope so. I want Square to win, but what I'm not going to do is sit here and lose money during that process. Okay. All right. Next one here is DraftKings. DraftKings is a stock that we talked about in Sorry Members Only. I did an entire breakdown on that company. They're up 35% in the last 6 months and up 108% over the last year. Okay. There are a lot of things going well for DraftKings. I think it's pretty obvious how they've integrated so well with all of sports culture at this point, and there's still some growth for this company as they continue to grow in other states and lobby aggressively in those spaces. It's not one that's in my portfolio yet, but I could be persuaded. I said in my breakdown, Sorry Members Only, that I'm cautiously optimistic for that company. But let's say that this list is tech heavy, and it is, and that's not all you want to invest in. Is it a portion of your portfolio? Yes, it absolutely should be, but there are other things that you should consider to make sure you have a good diversified portfolio so you are prepared for anything. But what are those other stocks and what are those other sectors that you check out? These are the videos that you want to see next.